Oops.
Yeah.
I was like, why's my slider note? Last show of 2021. Let's be consistent with Christine. Like, whoop on the music.
Like, what on the music? What was the sound? What was the sound?
Oh my goodness. Here we are, my friend. Our last podcast of 2021.
I'm so excited.
Episode 48.
Yes. It feels like
48 episodes this year.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. Feels like just the other day I had friends asking, when are you going to start your podcast? You keep talking about it. When are we going to see? And here we are a year later. So
right? Yeah. Should we do the last intro for 2021?
Let us begin. Let us begin. Hi, ladies. I am Shannon Mitchell. A little higher. No problem.
Yeah, see if you can bump your volume just a little.
How's this? Better? Or more? Let's see.
Kind of, it feels like you fell down a well. Where are you, Shannon?
Where are you? Is this better? How do I sound?
It's a little better, but for some reason, all of a sudden, your sound went away.
I don't know. Okay, if I turn it up too far, you're going to be yelling at my ear.
Right? Turn it up a little and let's see, so our listeners can really get your voice.
How is that?
Y'all, we really did a mic check before the show started, but tech happens. All right, try it again.
It's too loud for me now.
Well, now I can hear you.
I'm not going to be able to talk to you because it's too loud. It's too loud in my ear. Let's see. How is this?
It's better. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
We're all hands go. Okay. Hello, ladies. I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial business owner, founder of Shalo Glow LLC, a handmade shea butter company. I am your advocate for natural self-care and practical business systems.
Hey, y'all, I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, and published author who helps you upgrade your self and community care.
Yes, and together we are Women Connected in Wisdom, a podcast grounded in the 8 dimensions of wellness.
Join us for weekly intentional conversations about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness. And just some fun, too.
Yeah, I gotta have a little fun in there. If everything is too serious, it's too much.
Right? So we are wrapping up 2021.
Yes.
We're not the only ones. I mean, the world is wrapping up 2021. But how, in the midst of holiday chaos, end of year things, how have you been taking care of yourself, my friend?
Ooh, very intentional about what I allow to be on the schedule. You know, if I have something new come up and, let's do this, or something that interests me that I want to look up, it might not go on today's schedule. It needs to go on next week's schedule or even the month after that. So being realistic and saying some of this stuff is going to wait till 2022, and that's right on schedule. It doesn't have to be crammed into this week.
Oh, I love that. Right? So making choices. Yes or no?
Prioritizing tasks. Exactly.
Right.
What about you?
Right. I loved when you say that about prioritizing tasks. I've been prioritizing rest. You know, I've had a few nights of not sleeping. And so I have to rearrange some things sometimes to take a nap because if I don't sleep all night, like it's like, what's happening here? But yeah. And really, you know, like we talked about last week, getting outside, taking some time to breathe and be present with my friends and family and really, you know, not buying into the chaos. Like I was on the roads last night. Woo, there's some chaos out there. Like it took me an hour and a half to get where I was going because I passed like 3 or 4 wrecks. And I know it always happens this time of year. Like people just get a little frantic. And so I try to just take a deep breath and just, you know, consciously slow down, which can be hard when the to-do list is growing at the same
Yeah.
time that I'm consciously slowing down, right?
Yes. 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 And what gives me peace about that is, again, remembering to space it out if I can. Now I'm looking at 5 and 10 year goals. It doesn't have to all be this week or even this year sometimes. So that gives me, and the overthinking part of my brain, some rest. And then I also like to think about the teams that I'm building in the business. Of course, graphics have to be done, social media has to be done. I don't have to be the person that always does every single thing. What else? Who on my team can do this? How can I outsource it? How can I automate it? And that helps me with the overwhelm of everything.
Oh, I like that. So the outsourcing and the delegating. Yeah, that's really good. Well, we are talking about intellectual wellness today.
Yes,
Do you want to give folks the definition?
absolutely. So, intellectual wellness refers to active participation in scholastic, cultural, and community activities. It is important to gain and maintain intellectual wellness because it expands knowledge and skills in order to live a stimulating, successful life. In order to improve intellectual wellness, it is important to value creativity, curiosity, and lifelong learning. And this definition is from the University of Illinois.
Ah, I love that when it talks about intellectual wellness, it talks about living a stimulating, successful life, right? That, I mean, you can live a life without it, but is it something that, makes you want to get up every day? Like makes you want to, because I mean, we've all met people who don't like, who really don't like their life, or they're not excited by their life. And I'm curious if this is one of the elements of that, because sometimes we get done with school and we think, oh, that's it. Like, that's it.
Right. And the relationship that a lot of people have with learning, especially the way that standardized testing is set up and different things, I think it motivates them to be that way after they get out of school. They feel like it was too much, or they're not good at it. They're not good learners, and so they should just stop. When we have to continue to grow and figure out what works for us, and work on the environmental wellness, what do we need in our environment to feel supported in order to do those things that we need to figure out to grow in areas that we need help in.
Shannon, you actually got even a little softer, so I had trouble hearing that last two sentences. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening with audio today, my friend. But I want to be able to hear your voice. I'm curious in this moment, what would be the best way to solve this for us? Can you raise just a smidge? All of a sudden, what'd you do right there?
I don't know. Nothing outside of what we did before trying to test it.
Yeah, because it's like these words will pop in, right? And your sound is really full. And then all of a sudden it's like you're dropped down a well. So it may just be tech issues that we're dealing with today, listeners. And sorry about that. We will be working on that on our 2-week break. We are taking off the next 2 weeks to rest our brains and to rest our tech, and to come back. What did our definition say? Stimulated and successful. Like, I was going to say invigorated. Invigorated is, one of the things. Well, when we talk about intellectual wellness, I know that some of the questions that we've talked about early in the podcast, but also, I mean, I think it bears repeating at the end of the year is, do you seek personal growth by learning new skills? Now, I know our answer to that is yes, but I wanted to take that another step and be like, when you think about 2021 and then visioning towards 2022, what new skills? What new skills do you feel like, I mean, one's obvious for us, right? This year.
Right. Whole new skill.
right? Podcasting and all the details that come with it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How do you feel like podcasting's grown you in 2022, 2021? Because we're not there
That's a
yet.
great question. We're almost, but I will definitely say a reminder of the importance of the words that I choose. You know,
Mm.
earlier when we first started, I said something about I don't believe we have dry skin. People don't have dry skin. Well, so that's literally not what I meant. I was like, maybe I should have had better verbiage there. You know, I believe that not everybody has to combat dry skin as much as we do every day because we're so used to using products that don't work. When we use shea butter, it works amazing, and then we'll no longer have those same challenges. But at the same time, there are people who do have severely dry skin, and you cannot ignore the fact that they've gone to doctors and these are challenges that they face. So things like that have made me be wiser about and more intentional about the words that I choose with the platform that I have.
Oh, I love that.
Hmm.
I think about it in regards to incremental steps and the power of small steps building. You know, we
Yeah.
talk about incremental steps in interplay. It was actually incremental steps was the title of my first podcast, but I think about 48 episodes and the power of building on that and the power of the resources that our guests have brought to us, that we've brought to our listeners. And I mean, I haven't done it. I haven't gone back and added up our show notes and all the resources we've given out, but it would be fun to see like how, you know, every show there's usually at least 4 or 5, and that's on the low ends. And sometimes there's
Right.
10. And then you
Right.
multiply that by the 48, and
Mm.
that's a lot of connection and resources. And I think about the number of guests we had this year and the number of women's voices that we lifted up and the power of that. Because, you know, our why when we started this podcast almost a year ago, stay tuned for the year anniversary coming up second week of July. But
January.
January, see,
I'm
this
trying to go
is
to the
where the
beach.
power of rest comes in. Thank you for catching me on that, my friend. Um, you know, I think about our why, about uplifting women's voices who sometimes don't have a platform or don't get to be heard. And there's so many wise women out there and men too, but we're focusing on the women, that it really, the power of that, right? Just week by week, step by step, conversation by conversation, and then and bringing all those voices together. And I know
Yeah,
how much it's enriched my life.
absolutely. Absolutely. What skill do you think that podcasting has helped you with? I know this isn't your first podcast, but what do you feel like you've learned in 2021?
Well, I mean, I've been an event organizer and manager for years, like with my interplay, but it just heightens it. Like, you know, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that happen on podcasting. And as you know, and some of our listeners may know or may not know, like there's a lot of steps, a lot of little incremental steps that make the whole thing come together. So, I mean, I've gotten wiser on that. Haven't perfected it by any means, but you know, I think as far as new skills, you know, the technology behind it, the different platforms, the yeah. So I think a lot of that has been worked on, you know. Definitely got a ways to go. Aiming for more in 2022, but yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, and I mean that's
So
what intellectual wellness is about, right? Continuing to learn. And so a lot of times you don't even realize all the details that there are to learn on that level until you get there. So that also allows me to have grace for myself. You know what? You just got here.
right,
You didn't know you were gonna have to worry about this until you got
right.
here. So take it one step at a time and you'll get to the next level.
Right. Well, you know, we know how much work 48 podcast is, but when you think it's just a drop in the bucket, like so, you know, we're going to look up this time next year, and that is, you know, probably going to be closer to 100. And so, how it just builds on itself.
Yeah.
So that's going to be super fun. Well, part of intellectual wellness is also searching for learning opportunities and stimulating mental activities. So what you been up to around that?
Ooh, so learning opportunities. So there's so much, and a lot of stuff I feel like I don't have to go look for. It's really the challenges that I'm faced with that present, okay, this is the gaps in my knowledge, and that's where I study. And so continuing to do business management skills, my business is stepping into the end of the second and the third year. So we're looking at spaces like retail and collaborating with bigger partners across the community, the city, and funding from banks and grants. So what that's going to look like is changing the labels for a third time. And the container should stay the same, but what about the new scents and adding inventory? And again, what that looks like on the back end and the production of all of that, because production is going to increase exponentially, when we're in retail and delivery systems and different things for next year. So getting ready for that and the new lessons that come with that is what I'm excited about.
I love that.
Yes.
I know as small business owners, we're both always learning and growing, and whether we want to or not, because
Right.
something breaks and we have to fix it, or we have to find a solution, or how are we going to do that? I you and I often talk on this podcast about what we're reading and what we're up to. So what are you reading lately?
So I have not been reading a lot. The two books that I've been working out of. So one, the audiobook that I'm listening to is still on, The Lies That My Teacher Told Me. And that's been huge in going through the history and really learning about it. When I thought about Native Americans, I'm thinking about the Trail of Tears and these grandmas that passed away in the snow and the long walk, and how I don't like to walk that long, but it's crazy that this is what happened. But in reality, we learn that it's really plagues and different things because their immune systems were so healthy that their bodies were, affected by different diseases that they hadn't been accustomed to. So I'm thinking about the dimensions of wellness and how they overlay with the different historical situations. And of course, that changes my perspective as a young Black business owner that specifically helps people take care of themselves and protect their body through the immune system and the moisture barrier. So that's one thing that I've been working on, that audio book. And the other book that I've been working through is the Financial Peace Workbook. So we talk about action plans, right? At the end of every episode, we do a wisdom in action. So I have more money books on the list for 2022. But before I start adding more information, I'm working through these Dave Ramsey baby steps and making sure that I have financial goals and taking incremental steps to get where I want to be so we can do this more often.
I love that, because you touched on a point that I think is crucial, Shannon, especially for women. Like, it may take us a little bit longer because we got so many things on our plate, right? And it's okay to review this last year and look at, hey, what did I set aside because I was caretaking, or because I was, working too much, or, what did I set aside that I want to pick back up? Like, I've been doing that the last week or two, is looking at programs that like I started, but I needed to follow up on, or that I really liked and I wanted to do more. Because you know how sometimes you'll take a class or you'll take a program and there's homework or there's follow up or there's things that you can continue your learning from, that you think, oh, I'm going to do that. And then the next thing comes along. So I'm kind of doing a year in a review right now. I do this with my clients. I do this with my mastermind partners, where I look at, and I think we mentioned it last week, but where I look at my calendar and I look at my photos and I look for the good. So I look for like what really worked this last year. And then I also work for, oh, yeah, that program, or oh, yeah, that person. I wanted to reconnect with them, or I wanted to do more work with them. So it's kind of a review, but it's also a looking towards the next year is, who am I collaborating with? What am I reading? What am I following up on? I think all that ties into the intellectual wellness piece.
Yeah, yeah. And I was listening to Secrets of Six Figure Women this past summer, right? And one thing that really stuck with me was the learning curve and remembering that part of the learning curve is where you feel like you get to a plateau and all you have to do is keep applying what you know and do a SWOT analysis and kind of pivot and make it better. But it might feel like you're not moving anywhere. So then you get frustrated, whether it's with your lack of or your perceived lack of progress or something that you realize you still need more information on or more help with. And so that frustration makes people feel like they're not learning or like they're not doing what they need to do. But that's not the case. That's literally part of the learning curve. And so learning that, and then also as a woman, remembering that I had to work until August this year to make what somebody else made last year. Absolutely, it's going to take me more time. It's not just me moving it to next week that's causing that delay. There's other factors, that go into it. And so being aware of all those things is again what gives me peace when I'm seeing where I am in my timeline with my goals.
I love that. And giving yourself grace. Like that, yes, it's part of the learning curve and giving yourself grace around it, right? The latest book I'm reading is, or listening to, because I'm doing audiobook, is Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown, her latest book that just came out, talking about mapping human connections, which I'm really excited about because, I always tell folks it comes down to relationships, right? Pretty much everything in life comes down to relationships. Are they working? Are they not working? Like all that. So I'm really excited to read her perspective on it and see what she's thinking about there.
And it's called what? Atlas of the Mind?
Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown.
Atlas of
It's her
the Heart.
latest. Yep.
Yeah, I really like
So
that.
we'll put a link to all these in the show notes for folks, for sure.
And what about the last one? Do you look for ways to use creativity?
Oh, yeah. My answer on that is yes. Do you look for ways to use creativity as a part of intellectual wellness? Yes, as much as I can. Like this week, I was having so much fun because for the nibblings for my nephew's first birthday, I created a book for them in English and Spanish called On Papa's Farm. And it was about where my sister and I grew up. And it was a book to capture like what, because I didn't know, they're little. I don't know what they're going to remember. I don't know. And so I created this book out of love, a gift of love, but also for kind of a capturing of my memories and my sister's memories and my mom and dad. And so I was going to do that for their second birthday, but I was busy getting a kid off to college. So I am doing it for Christmas. I am capturing this time, I'm doing a book about visiting Georgia and visiting us. And so I know it sounds silly to equate that with intellectual wellness, but it's so fun because the creativity and the graphics, and then I'm doing it bilingual because they're being raised bilingual. So I'm, doing it in English and in Spanish. And, I don't know. It's just been ridiculously fun. And it makes me think, all right, how am I doing this? What am I doing? And it's that creativity piece that gets me so excited.
Yeah, yeah. And it's the how to communicate things that are clear to you and your mind and your memory to somebody else in a different perspective, especially when you're talking about age, I think is great. And it teaches us a lot when we're trying to break it down for somebody else.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I see this in you, my friend, when you are designing your new scents for Shalo Glow and when you are designing new labels and packaging, and that creativity comes through your business so strongly.
Thank you. Yeah, I've had a really good time doing it. And that's what I try to remember and hold on to. Like, make sure you're having a good time and having fun when you do this stuff too, because this is your purpose. This is what you want to do, with your time. So it's not always about being perfect and having to look a certain way. But again, the creativity. Sometimes beautiful creativity is the imperfections and the fact that we know a machine didn't make it or a computer didn't make it. I made this myself. And I also think about creativity with, like you said, the people skills and the relationships. And I see it play out usually in situations. Somebody might see a problem or see something as a problem instead of all the five different ways that you could fix it. Oh, just do this. And being an entrepreneur, I feel like has really helped me be less of an A student and a type A personality. It absolutely has to be this way. And instead, I think about what I want the end product to be and how can I get there and what makes the most sense right now with the details that I have. And so I think about creativity like that too.
I think you really hit on something when you talk about creativity as business owners and entrepreneurs. Like, we are creative problem solvers, right? And I think we have to be on a daily basis. It's like, how are we going to make this work?
Really, like for example, my labels were too big for these Shea logo containers. What do? Cut it. Just cut the label and we'll figure it out the next time. Of course, make sure that it's amazing, that it's still professional, and the guests are taken care of, the customers get what they need. But if it doesn't fit, make it fit, and then we'll figure it out on the back end. Now, old Shannon would not have liked that idea. I went straight back to middle school when I cut off the top. I cut off half of the first line of our science project, trying to make the line just perfect. And now I'm over time and stressed out, trying to make it perfect. And so I laugh at myself now when I do stuff to fix situations that before I would have been overthinking.
I love that. And I love what you're saying there about not letting your perfection get in the way of your good enough. Right. And I mean, and not to say that you don't produce an amazing product that looks like, sometimes like what's in our head has trouble coming out, and that perfectionism like stops us in our tracks. But your client or your customer has no idea that you had it envisioned a different way. It still looks perfect to them or awesome to them. It just wasn't what you perfectly envisioned at the time. I love that creative problem solving. I was just pulling up an article I read a little bit ago because I wanted to presence it, because for somebody that thinks, oh, I'm not a creative problem solver, or I don't know how to do that, I'm going to put this in the show notes and I want to talk with you about it, Shannon, because I think it goes right with intellectual wellness. And it talks about 8 creative problem solving techniques that get results. And this is from Scott Jeffrey. And he starts out talking about that no one likes the feeling of being stuck. It creates tension, and that tension seeks resolution. And so, but there are some techniques that reveal new solutions. So the first one is ask compelling questions. And he references a book called A Whack on the Side of the Head, which I hadn't heard of before, by Roger Van Ock. I don't know if I'm saying that right, OECH. And he says, in the imagination phase, you ask questions such as, what if? Why not? What rules can we break? What assumptions can we drop? How about if we looked at this backwards? Can we borrow a metaphor from another discipline? Or the motto of the imaginative phase is thinking something different. So I love that, like asking what if questions or why not questions. If you have trouble with this one, hang out with a 2-year-old, almost 3-year-old. They will show you how it's done. Number 2 on this article was find your center. I loved it. I love this one, right? And it says most problems arise because of inner confusion. Different parts of us hijack our minds and give us conflicting wants, beliefs, perspectives. That these parts keep us from thinking clearly to a workable solution. So I love that. And they have ideas about how to find your center, but I'm all about taking that deep breath, grounding, put our feet on the earth. They even have one that says how to breathe like a Jedi. So y'all should click through to that on the show notes. But really, I'm a big believer in this in all steps, but especially if we're in the middle of a chaos or a problem solving situation. Find your center, ground yourself, remember to breathe. Number 3, they say in this article, is explore context. Many problems arise because we neglect to zoom out from the content of the problem. Doesn't this sound familiar? This is like number 4 of self-care skills about gaining a broader perspective, right? Zoom out from the content of the problem and examine the overall context of the situation. Right? I love the overlap from a business perspective to our still point self-care for community care. I love how that works. Number 4 is seek wisdom. In the 7 decisions to understanding the keys for personal success, author Andy Andrew recommends putting together a personal board of directors or advisors for various areas of your life. Asking an experienced advisor from the outside your industry for their thoughts on your problem can yield insightful perspectives. I love reading this article from a man's perspective, right? Because I think women, we often do this. We do this with our girlfriends. Like we do this with our friends and our family members and our chosen family and the groups. We can also do it with coaches and mentors. But we've spoken to that on this show before about how valuable that is.
Right.
Oh, I love this one, Shannon. Number 5, walk away. Sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to stop trying to solve it and go sleep on it. Walking away from the problem brings forth the wanderer archetype. The wanderer is essential to the creative process because it allows you to hear your muse. The key is knowing when to let go of trying to solve the problem. Creative problem solving is actually an effortless process. The key is learning how to get out of your own way. I love this so much because I often do this with private clients. We will stop talking about it and we will put on a piece of music and move and just get out of our brains. Because sometimes how you get in a loop with your brain and you're thinking the same thing. So like getting out of our way or going to sleep. I love that. All right. You have a question or comment? I got 3 more to throw out there.
So the comment I was going to have about this last one is it reminds me of active listening and how a lot of times with communication, we listen to respond instead of to understand. And with me working on that as a better habit with the people around me in my circle, it's made it so that I don't jump in and try to fix problems. Sometimes they'll fix themselves, or sometimes when I'm about to respond, somebody else will come up with a solution and I had to do nothing but just wait for it, and it makes it easier for that way too.
I love that. So creative and active listening. Absolutely. Number 6 on this list is to switch roles. Like our minds tend to get locked into old patterns, leading to what's called paradigm blindness. If you have a marketing related problem, for example, try putting on an engineer's hat or a gardener's hat. The idea is to shift your perspective so you can approach the problem from a new angle. I love this. We talked about this in Still Point. We talked about actually like shifting your body position, like lay on the floor or go outside or like literally switch roles or perspectives or how, we talked about getting in the perspective of a baby, like get on the floor and look at it and see what that would look at or stand on a chair, right? But I love that about putting on different roles. Number 7, use the 6 thinking hats. Speaking of hats, De Bono's 6 hat method provides you and your team with 6 different perspectives to utilize when tackling a problem. Now, this is interesting. 1 hat is facts. 1 hat is feelings. 1 hat is control. 1 hat is creativity. 1 is positive and 1 is negative.
I do like that.
Yeah, but I haven't ever used that method before.
Yeah.
And last, oh, go ahead.
was gonna say, not that they all have to be different, but because people separate them sometimes, I don't think it's bad to take on one at a time. Yeah.
Right?
What's the seventh thing that the list says?
The eighth is to generate a plethora of ideas when you're creative problem solving. Research suggests that the most effective way to uncover the best solution is to brainstorm as many ideas as you can in a non-judgmental environment before evaluating them. There are numerous pathways to get to the answer you seek. Some pathways, however, are more effective than others. The key is to experience with various methods to uncover which ones work best for you. And wisdom and intuition comes in too, which we know to be true, right? I love that. And it talks about it being a skill. It talks about creative problem solving is a skill. It can be learned and developed. I love that.
Mm-hmm. And it's helped me so much. You know, this is one of the biggest reasons why I give the hospitality industry so much credit, because dealing with thousands of people and thousands of situations, and when people are hungry, they are not they are not going to be happy if you mess up their wife's food or it's their birthday and they have to wait longer. So you have to know how to talk to them and help the team and help the venue, and it's been really great for creative problem solving.
Right? Yeah. Well, and I love how it all overlaps, right? It really does overlap with the 8 dimensions of wellness, with the being grounded, with the taking care of yourself, with the it's all about knowing how to do all these things, maybe not all at the same time, but in incremental steps and consistently.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Because I know if I don't give myself that time in the morning, then if things get busier at work and I feel overextended or stretched, I'm going to be more stressed out because I didn't pour into myself before I poured into these other situations. So that's my social wellness, but also how it affects my physical wellness and then my occupational wellness, and intellectual wellness, and being able to learn from different skills and situations is huge, so that you don't have to keep going through the same negative situations or consequences over and over again. I don't like doing things over and over again if I don't have to. So, yeah.
Right. It's a good thing. Yeah, not doing things over and over again. I agree with you there. Well, my friends, as we are wrapping up 2021,
yes,
what do you think about these 8 dimensions of wellness? What do you think about, when you look at this past year, what are you like, yep, I'm doing a great job on that one, or nope, I want to focus more on that one in 2022?
Mm-hmm. I would say absolutely financial wellness. I'm doing amazing because I know exactly where I'm at. I know my numbers for my personal accounts, my business accounts, what my goals are and why. The one that I would love to continue to work on is spiritualness. I used to go to church every week and was part of the greeters and involved before COVID, and I pulled away. Thankfully, because of Women Connected and Wisdom, I've still been connected, but not nearly as much as I used to. So for me, that doesn't always have to be for people or a physical place, right? But I definitely want to make sure I continue to focus on it so that my center can stay fortified and continuing to grow.
And stay grounded. I love that. Yeah. I love that a lot.
What about you?
Yeah. For me, let's see. I am focusing in 2022 on physical wellness and getting, I'm at that age. We're different generations and different ages. So, I need to be focusing on that and making sure I'm getting my daily 10,000 steps in, which I have not been, and I want to be carving out time for that. And looking back at what has worked well this year, I mean, in some ways, it has worked really well. I've walked a lot this year. I've been maintaining even through the pandemic, but I feel like it's just maintaining. I think I want to step that up a little bit. And And I feel like emotional and mental wellness has been really good this year. It's so I have so much to be grateful for. And listeners, we just lost Shannon. Boy, these tech issues, y'all, we are going to solve those. That is one of my biggest goals, is that we solve that and start 2022 with a little bit of new equipment. So that's what we're working towards over here. Here she comes back. So we just lost her for a second. There you are. So glad you made it back.
Me too.
Right? You know what I was thinking when you popped off? That we should tell folks what we were visioning, part of the visioning for 2022, and what we want to do. So, y'all, before this call, we were talking about things we wanted to do for ourselves. And we were like, oh, we should invite our listeners and invite our friends to this. So, we are going to have a connected envisioning, or did I say that right? Connected Envision. Thank you. I knew I said it wrong. It's brand new, y'all. Connected Envision workshop. And we are going to do that on January 5th.
Yes.
January the 5th. January the 5th, we are doing it after our show. So after the first show of the year, which will be the one right before our year anniversary. But after the first show of the year, we are going to be offering a live workshop that you can join us on. And we will drop that Eventbrite link in our show notes so you can find it. And we are going to do that. We'll do it on Zoom. And we are going to do it for 2 hours and 21 minutes. And because, we're silly like that. And it's 2022.
Yes, 22 minutes.
Yeah, 2 hours and 22 minutes. Yeah, got it. And what we're going to do is be visioning around the 8 dimensions of wellness, about what we want to create. So it's going to be an embodied workshop. It's going to be a creative workshop. You can create a vision board with magazines and craft supplies at your own house, or you can do it virtually, and we'll show you how to do that. So we hope you can join us. What else you got going on over there at Shaylo Glow?
Yes. Ooh, so we talked about the new sizes. Now Shaylo Glow has more product for whichever size you prefer. If you like to travel, we have the Travel Glow Kit. That's still going to include the dark brown sugar scrub for exfoliation, the Glow Oil. That's our multi-use oil that you can use on your scalp, hair, skin, and nails. And then you seal it in with the shea butter that has organic coconut oil and aloe in it. And those are all going to pass through TSA. The maximum size is 3.4, right? So we have 3-ounce containers for the sugar scrub and the shea butter, and a now 2-ounce oil. And for the home glow kit, if you know you need more, have a bigger size family, those size containers are going to be 8-ounce for the shea butter and the sugar scrub, and double for the oil. So you're going to get the 4 ounces.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And y'all don't forget, Shaylo Glow is one of our sponsors. So they give us a Wise 5 discount. So if you are looking for presents for your friends and family, pop over there to Shaylo Glow and grab that discount code, Wise 5. And that's in our show notes. It is in, you can find it on our social media. Speaking of social media, before we have done this for 47 other shows. So what is your wisdom in action this week, my friend, around intellectual wellness?
Ooh, let's see. So what I will say is that I am, like you said, recapping this year, looking at my goals, seeing what I can do and what I need to schedule for the beginning of next year to keep the momentum out of the fourth quarter into the beginning of the year. That's what I'm working on.
I love it. I am going to keep reading the book I'm reading, Atlas of the Heart, and I'm doing my recap. I'm doing all that. I'm doing the gathering and the savoring and the noticing to move me into 2022. So I'm really delighted. I count 48 episodes of Women Connected in Wisdom as a huge success for 2021. And I am so grateful to be in collaboration, communication, and partnership with you, my friend.
Thank you. Yes. And I feel the same way. I'm excited and I'm looking forward to a second year and everything we have coming. In the meantime, ladies, we will see you on January 5th. Okay. So we do not have shows for the next 2 weeks. In the meantime, be well, be wise, and be whole. We'll talk to you soon.
See you in 2022.
Yes.